Hi and welcome. My name is Ilana King, and I'm an entrance exam specialist. And today I want to show you one of the great games that I use in my sessions for both 7 plus and 11 plus students. And what's so great about this activity that I'm going to show you is it's so versatile, but it's really fun as well. And I use it for an icebreaker activity at the beginning of a session with a new student in particular. This is my absolute go-to icebreaker when I'm just meeting a student for the first time. But it's better than that. It's not just fun and breaks the ice, but it actually allows you to do a little bit of assessment of your student and also some teaching further on. So it's so versatile. It can be used in so many different ways. And that's what I really love and why I want to share it with you. So what is this wonderful, old magical activity? It's really simple. It's story dice. You may have heard of them before. You may not. I'm going to tell you about them now. And, I use a commercially bought product, which is these here. So these are readily available on Amazon or other retailers. I've actually seen them in bookshops as well, in the children's section of like Waterstones and places like that. Rory's Story Cubes. And this is the original box of Rory Story Cubes, but they come in loads and loads of different sort of add-on packs. So the original Story Cubes, what they are, if you open them up and have a look inside, you can see that they're dice with pictures on, and I'll take them out in a minute. But we also have different sets that are themed, like this one is Voyages. So all of the dice inside have pictures that are related to Voyages and Fantasia, and there are loads of others. I've just pulled out 3 here, but there are loads and loads of them. Now, these are not the only ones on the market. I particularly like Rory Story Cubes, but I think there is another brand of them. Can't remember the name of it. And of course, you can make your own, right? So it's if you can make a cardboard dice, basically, you can put any pictures on. So, but I like these very much, and they're very tactile. So these are the ones I use. And if I tip this original set out, you'll see they feel nice. Like you can't, this is not feel-o-vision, unfortunately, so I can't let you feel them, but they've got a really nice weight to them. They're really smooth. They're really tactile. So if you're working in person, these are just brilliant for feeling, for the child to actually touch. Now, don't worry if you're not working in person. There is actually an online version of these from Rory's Story Cubes. He does his own, and I've actually found a couple of other online versions as well. So if you're working online, as I now do, so I have all of these from the days where I used to work in face-to-face, but actually I work online now. I still use Story Cubes. I just use the online version, which you can press a button to roll the dice. So it's fine, whichever way that you're working, you can still use them. Okay, so what do you do with them? Well, it's really simple and it's really adaptable. I'm going to show you the basic way I use these first of all. And this I would do with a new 7 plus student or any younger student. So if you're teaching a year 3 or even a year 4 student, I would still play it this very basic way. So what's the basic way? We get them out, we have a look at them. Oh, they're great. We might discuss what some of the pictures are, if they're a bit ambiguous. And then we literally just take turns. So whoever's turn it is first takes a dice at random, rolls it. Let's see what's on there. Oh, it's a lightning rod. So we would start the story. We would tell a story. We would start the story. And the first bit of the story has to have lightning in it. So, if I'm working with a younger student, I might go first because they might be feeling a bit shy or uncertain. And I would model this for them and just sort of say, it was a dark and stormy night, and Tom awoke from his bed with a start as thunder clapped and a flash of lightning went across the sky. That's it. And then, the child takes the next dice and they roll it. And, oh, okay, we've got a little beetle on there. So they've got to continue the story from where you left off with the beetle. And they might go on and talk about he'd spotted a beetle dashing across the floor. And then you roll the next dice, etc. And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going until you have finished the story. And you end up with a lovely line of dice like this. Okay, so you might be thinking, okay, well, that's fun, but I mean, what's kind of the point of it? You're not going to get a great story out of it. No, but there's so many things you can do with this basic story. So particularly if you're working in a first session with a student, you're going to learn so much about them as you do this. So they're going to think it's fun, so they connect with you, which is great. They're going to really enjoy what you're doing. If they're shy, you're going to be able to start drawing them out a little bit. You're also going to be modeling the sentences as you say them. So if their sentences are really short without much in them, you are modeling in between how to improve that when you're doing your own sentences. And of course, you're assessing whether they can actually keep a narrative. Can they start here and end up there and keep the narrative going in some kind of logical order? So it's a really good tool for 7+. You can play that same exact game for 11+. So I would use this same thing, excuse me, with an 11+ student in the first session. But of course, you'd have to adapt it slightly. So you'd want some slightly different rules with an 11+ student. You might say that, for instance, when they roll the dice, instead of giving only a sentence, they actually need to give 2 sentences or 3 sentences. So you can get a sense of how their sentence structure develops and flows. Okay. Or you might throw a rule in there that, on their turn, they have to put in a piece of figurative language. And on your turn, you're going to use a fronted adverbial. I mean, you can mix it up and make it as challenging as you want it to be for any age student. It really is that versatile. But I want to show you some other ways you can use it as well. So we talked about having just pulling out 1 dice at a time and rolling it. Okay, what about if we take the whole lot, we roll them all in one go and we line them up? We're not in any order. We can't quickly look and decide what order. We just literally line them up in a line like that. Okay, so then what you do is you start from this. Okay, so you're going to start at the very first dice. You're going to work your way to the last dice. You're going to tell the story in this order. And you're going to talk about a beginning, a middle, and an end. And as you look across this, and this was random, I swear I didn't actually plan for what came up on here, but look what's right in the middle. Fire. So before you start your story, you can actually talk particularly with a younger child about what's going to be that big exciting bit in the middle of your story. What's going to be that problem? Well, there's fire. So you're going to have to lead up to there being a big fire. I mean, there's an airplane right before it. Maybe the airplane crashes. It's not a very happy story. Lights on fire, or there's a tree. So maybe it's about a forest burning down. You can decide, but it gives you that opportunity to think and to discuss with that student. Okay, what are we actually going to put into the story? And then you get a sense of their beginning, middle, and end. Do they understand the narrative? Okay, so with a younger student, it can be as simple as that. With an older student, you can do that same thing, lay them all out, okay, and then kind of turn it over to them and say to them, don't tell the story, right? We're not going to actually do all the words to it, but what do you see here? What kind of story would you tell? And you can think about beginnings in particular or endings with your older students, really thinking about how they're going to develop that and just have a discussion about them. Okay, so you don't even have to actually tell the story, though you can, of course, do that. Okay. I want to think about some other ways that I would use this with slightly older pupils, because I think they're really, we look at this and they lend themselves to very young students, and you think, great, okay, I can think of lots of ways I can use this with young students. But and people don't tend to think, oh, I should play games, or I should, really do this in a fun way with an older 11+ student. But you can. So I'm just going to move these for a minute. I've got a bag. Don't ask me why it's a Paddington Bear pencil case, but I've just had it for a long time. And inside, I've actually dumped in a whole load of different. So these are all different sets that I've kind of put in there together. And when I used to go out to see students, I would take this bag with me rather than all the boxes of individual sets. But there's a lot of dice in there. And one of the games that you can play is actually to blind pick a dice. And this is really good with older pupils. Let's say you're working on beginnings, okay? And you're really thinking about what are the different ways that opening sentence can really make, your reader go, wow, and pull them in and hook them. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Okay, you could write a million stories. It's going to be really boring. And you really only want to be focusing on that first sentence. So what you really want is a spark for that first sentence. Okay, so play a game. So hand in, no looking. You might want a bigger bag than this one. Hand in, pull out a dice, no looking, roll it. Okay, what do we get? Okay, it is a child in a classroom putting their hand up, and there's a speech bubble. Okay, brilliant, because then that lends itself to opening with direct speech. So all they've got to do when they pull that out and roll it is they've got to give the first sentence of a story and make it wow. And of course, if you would pull another one out and we go back and we put our hand in and roll randomly another one, okay, it's a cave or a dungeon opening with a gate on it. What kind of beginning does that lend itself to? Not direct speech, perhaps opening with a shock, right? Or perhaps something descriptive. And again, they do that first sentence. So you can play the game where you're pulling them out like that. You could obviously also do the same for endings, not just beginnings. You could do the same for middles, okay? Here's another one that I like. Again, this is a more challenging one for your older students. So let's say you have told the story, you've got all your dice lined up, you've told the story, great. Okay. Next, what they need to do is tell the same exact story, but from a different point of view. So maybe you've created a story that's in first person using these, they've got to change it to third person. Okay. And you can, of course, model this. So you could tell the first story in first person and they change it to third person, or vice versa. You could even break it up and do it in parts. But another one, what about you're teaching figurative language techniques and you want to just practice those? Well, again, pull out your bag, pull out a single dice, roll it. What have we got? What have we got? Goodness me, what is that? It looks like a foot, maybe a foot and a bull, a foot kicking a bull. I actually can't even work out what that one is. Sometimes they are a little bit ambiguous, but okay. But let's say it's a foot kicking a bull. They have to come up with a sentence that uses a figurative language technique that is going to describe this picture. So the possibilities really, truly are quite endless. And it's just really brilliant for being able to adapt it to whatever you're in. So if you're going out and seeing students in person, just have a bag of these in your bag. They don't take up a lot of space. They're not hugely heavy. It's kind of your bag of tricks that's in there all the time. You can pull it out and adapt it to any situation. But certainly if you're going into a first session with a student, this is brilliant. This is absolutely that perfect icebreaker to let you connect with that student, but also assess them at the same time. So I hope you got some good ideas from that. I hope that these are things that you're going to be able to go away and use. Remember, you can make your own if you don't want to buy a set. I think they're about £10 a set. They're not outrageous when you think about that. They last forever. I mean, I've had these for 10 years or more. So you can use them again and again. But if you don't want to buy a set, you can make your own. They won't be as durable, I think. Or if you're teaching online, or if you're teaching in person and you're taking a tablet with you, which I know some people do, you could use the online version of them, which is entirely free. So you've got lots of options available to you, and the possibilities are endless. And I'd love to know if you were watching this and you saw the dice, you saw, oh, I know what I would do with them, and Ilana didn't mention it. Add it into the comments, because I'd love to know some extra ideas for how you might go away and use these. So thank you very much, and I hope that you found that useful. Goodbye.